Olá, boa noite. Kia ora.
Boa noite.
Good evening, everybody.
Boa noite, boa noite. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mani.
Here we are once again in another Allan Kardec Spiritus Group of New Zealand weekly meeting. This is some lovely day here in Auckland City.
Yeah.
Even though we are in lockdown, I had the chance to get out with my sons, play some frisbee in the park outside, get some fresh air. It was a bit
Nice.
hard playing frisbee with the wind, but it's a good good exercise to run after the wind. How about you, Carol? Did you have a good day?
Yeah, it was a pretty weird weather in the beginning. Now it's quite bright here, but I'm sure in a few minutes it's gonna get dark again.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was a lot of rain, stop rain, and sun, and a lot of sun, and a lot of rain, and a lot of sun. So, but I was mainly home working. But it was a good day. It was productive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, we are here in multicasting with you guys through StreamYard on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. And as we noticed last week, Instagram, we can only probably see this part of my face and
Just
also
this
Carol's
this
middle
hair.
pain. Yeah, but as I said, once we finish recording, I'm gonna uh, put the video on the IGTV so people can see us if they choose to do so. Because as we know, the most important thing is what we are reading, and talking about. Um, and your participation is very much appreciated. You can leave a little message, and we can post your message right here. Just like I'm going to show Alcione already saying good evening. Good evening, Alcione.
Good
Um,
evening, sorry.
yeah, she's already watching there. Um, and you can put your questions, your comments, and even probably when we get a little bit better at editing and using this platform, we can even add some more people onto the conversation if you like to be in the conversation as well. We're not quite ready how to do yet, we're quite sure how to do yet, but I'm sure that in the future we might be able to have more people as well. Um, so we don't have many news apart from last week, right, Carol?
I think the only news is what you already got from the Prime Minister, that we are still in lockdown and levels are changing. We're having some differences. If you're not in Auckland, I'm sure you're not following as closely as we are, just waiting for the day we're going to be able to actually be out of the house. Um, but here in Auckland, we are still on level 3, just changing a few rules over there. But it means we are probably for at least another 2 weeks, we are still home, still in level 3. So
Mhm.
you're going to continue to see for at least a couple other weeks, we're going to be here in this format doing the studies. And for the other studies that we also hold, everybody should be informed. We are either doing online or for the kids when we pause for a little bit. So I think those are the news, and whatever happens until the end of the year, if you watch us online, you'll be able to keep watching us
Yeah.
because we're always passing anyways here. So
And also reminding everyone, we're still offering the our fraternal assistance that can be done online. I know we have many platforms that we can be in touch, either through Zoom or Google Meets or
or just a
Microsoft
phone
Teams
call if the person
or a
doesn't
phone
want to see.
call. We are available for that service as well if necessary. So just get in touch with us through the normal ways of getting in touch with us via email or messenger or text message or any other channels that we use, and that's fine. So today we have as we normally do, we have our inspirational reading before we go to the prayer. And what would you prefer to do, Carol? The initial prayer or the reading or both?
Maybe I won't do it all. I'll share with you.
Okay.
Maybe we do the opposite that we did last week. So you do the reading and I'll do the prayer.
All right. Sounds good. So, as we are reading the Christian agenda, Agenda Cristã, as it was written on the by Emmanuel with Allan Kardec, writing of Allan Kardec, Chico Xavier, psychographing or writing the message. And today we are at item 38. Do not ruin your day. Your irritation will not solve any problems. Your contrarieties, that's a difficult word to pronounce. Your contrarieties will not alter the nature of things. Your disappointments will not do the work that only time will achieve. Your bad humor will not modify life. Your pain will not stop the sun from shining tomorrow over the good and the bad. Your sadness will not illuminate pathways. Your discouragement will not edify anyone. Your tears will not replace the sweat which you ought to employ for the benefit of your own happiness. Your complaints, even if affectionate construed, will never increase others' sympathy for you by one ounce. Do not ruin your day. Learn from divine wisdom to forgive endlessly, so constructing and reconstructing for the infinite good. So yeah, another important message for all of us. And I'll pass the word to Carol now for the opening prayer.
Thank you. All right. We're gonna close our eyes and let our minds now focus on the words that you can hear from me, on the words that are about to be exchanged on this study group tonight, that we may not just hear them, but also listen to them, that we may not just read them, but understand them together, that we may have our hearts and souls open for one more study group. We thank you, Friendly Spirituality, for being here present with us today and always, in all moments of our lives, guiding us, helping us, invisible friends. We ask your forgiveness for all those times that we won't listen to you, but we thank you for not giving up on us. So we ask for your guidance, your intuition, your help for one more study evening. We thank our mentors of the group of the Allan Kardec Spiritist Group of New Zealand, for always being present in all activities we do. We ask for your guidance, your mentoring, and we thank you, God, for the opportunity of being here together for one more study group. We ask that you bless those who cannot be with us tonight, incarnated or disincarnated, that they may receive the benefits of this incredible energy we are generating here together, of the vibrations of the study, of the final vibration we do together, that they may receive the benefits too, even though their minds, their hearts might not be present here with us tonight for many different reasons, that they also receive this. We ask that you bless those who are in need of this healing, powerful energy that we try to emanate, that they may be prepared by the friendly spirituality to receive this in the next hour and a half, and especially in our final vibration in the end of our meeting. Thank you, and so be it.
So be it.
Oh, what a beautiful photo.
You like it?
Yeah, it's that's
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, it's good. So people, sometimes people don't want to close their eyes. They can look at the beautiful photo and hear your beautiful voice.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
All
really
right.
nice. It's sometimes a good way to focus besides the and we
Yeah,
I know we usually have the music, right, but on a streaming is really hard to put the music, guys. It kind of cuts, and we thought that in the end was a little
a
more
distraction.
intruding than helpful. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's we're just learning the resources here on the
it all shall pass. We all have
yeah.
music. We'll be together once again. So last week, I mean, for the last few weeks, for a few last few lessons, we are still studying in our Gospel according to Spiritism, and we are on chapter, I think it's 16, right? 16.
16.
You cannot serve God and Mammon. So we have
Yep.
been last week. We already talked about it, and we have been going on explaining that the first part of that study, if you missed it, you can go back and watch in our Facebook lives or our Instagram or our Facebook. Our Facebook is looking a little bit weak, so if you can choose to go there and give us a thumbs like, that would be good. A thumbs up and a like. Um, but yeah, so we've been studying a little bit about this importance of detachment from material wealth. Learning, through the different parables that Jesus gave us, the parable of the talents, that we should use the talents and the wealth, and both physical and material, and also intellectual and moral, put our talents to use, to good use, not be attached to the material things, and also to be able to put good use to that as well. So it's a good chapter for us, good reminders, especially in times of like now. I mean, it's always been like now, but now is more evident where we can see a lot of more people that are in need. The need, the necessity for charity is always there. But I think sometimes God, use nature, use our world as a learning step for us. So I think now we are in a position where a lot of charity is needed, not only, of course, giving alms, giving things, but also giving our time, giving a little bit of ourselves, which was other chapters that we've been kind of arriving to this point, right?
Yeah, and I think also as we get this larger gap between extremely rich people and um, getting into, I think especially for us Brazilians in the last year or so, getting to the stage that we see again incredibly poor people, so we're living very um, very complicated lives, and as this gap um, extends itself, this chapter becomes even more important to understand where is the justice in all of that, of having very rich people and very poor people. It's really important that we think about it and reflect in order to try and help being being very angry about it, and understanding more about divine justice and how justice incarnation is not enough to judge who is actually wealthy and actually poor in spirit.
Yeah. So we are kind of halfway through the instructions from the spirits. So there was a few passages that we read last week, and now we have a few more, and they are quite just reinforcing a little bit what we've been studying. So we're going to be reading because it's important to reinforce, of course. So as you did the opening prayer, I can take the baton now, and
Yep.
have a look at this. Once again, we are in the Gospel according to Spiritism. If you, by any chance, looking on Instagram and you can't see it, you can have a look at
Facebook.
Kardecpedia. Kardecpedia, yeah.
Mm.
So the use of riches is the item 11, and the spirits once again give the name of the chapter, which is "You cannot serve both God and Mammon." Remember this well, you who are dominated by the love of gold. You should sell your soul you who should, you who would sell your soul to possess treasures because they can set you above other people and provide you with the pleasures of the passions. No, you cannot serve both God and mammon! Exclamation mark. Therefore, if you feel your soul dominated by the covetousness of the flesh, make haste to rid yourself of the yoke that crushes you, because the just and strict God will say to you, "What did you do with the wealth I entrusted to you, you unfaithful steward? Only to serve your personal satisfaction did you use that driving power for doing good deeds?" So yeah, just once again bringing us back to that idea, that we are only stewards. We are not owners of anything in this life. We are just temporary carriers, or we are given the things that we have, that belong to God, that in fact belong to everyone, to look after it. Just a couple of words. There's the yoke. The yoke is that instrument they used to put on the
On the
cows and on the
cattle.
ox to carry, on the cattle, to carry the cart. So if we are dominated by this attachment to wealth, we are pretty much dominated. Like, it controls us. We don't control the wealth. We don't control the talents that we have. We are controlled by the desire of having them. So it's quite a interesting and impactful vision that it gives us, right? So make haste to rid yourself of the yoke that crushes you. So we have to, which is also a weight, a weight that we carry around. Have to be freed of that weight as well. Um, what then is the best use of wealth? Seek in the words "love one another" the solution to this problem. Therein lies the secret for the good use of riches. Those who are animated by love for their neighbor have their course of action all traced out. The use of wealth that best pleases God involves charity. Not that cold and selfish charity that consists in scattering around oneself the surplus of a golden existence, but rather the charity filled with love that seeks out the unfortunate and lifts them up without humiliating them. You who are rich, give off your superfluity. Do more. Give something of what you consider necessary to you, because what is necessary to you is still superfluous. However, give wisely. Do not reject those who complain because you are afraid that you might be deceived. Go to the source of the ill. First, seek to alleviate. Next, gather information and see if work, counseling, or even affability might not be more effective than your charitable donations. In addition to your wealth, spread all around you the love of God, the love of labor, and the love for one's neighbor. Set your riches upon a foundation which will never fail you and which will bring you the big profits of good deeds. The riches of intelligence should serve you just as the riches of gold. Spread the treasures of learning all around you. Scatter the treasures of your love over your brothers and sisters, and they will bear fruit. Cheverus, Bordeaux, 1861. So it's quite interesting to see, all these the passages from this spirit of Chevers. And I'm always curious to see who are the spirits that are talking to us, that gave us this. Of course, you can see by the quality of the writing and the message, the content, the deep message, Christian message within. But it's interesting to know, to find out. I'm very curious about that. So I had a bit of a search on Google to find out who Cheverus was. He was John, or Jean in French, or Jean or John Cheverus. He was a archbishop and also a cardinal that lived. Of course, he was French, but then he moved to England, and then he started pretty much the Catholic work in United States. There's still up to these days a few churches in college, in schools that have his name in Boston, mainly in Massachusetts. So and he once, of course, once he passed away, he gave this beautiful message of encouragement, for our detachment for material things. And it's interesting. I think he's very wise on his words, of course, when he gives us the steps, of how to find this. He says on this passage, on this slide here, he goes, first seek to alleviate, of course, because there's a we always talk about, the most important, of course, not giving alms, is actually giving yourself. But sometimes it is necessary to help people in a material level, because if you try to help them or counsel them or help them in a moral level, they're not in condition to, you know to be helped or help themselves. So first seek to alleviate. Next, get the information and see if work, counseling, or even affability might not be more effective than charitable donations. Yeah, so we have to alleviate, to bring that comfort to people that are in need, but also try to find a different ways of lifting them up, to help them lift themselves up as well. Because a hungry stomach cannot think properly or cannot feel properly. So it's important to have that balance. Of course, not just only focus on that part, but also be a more wholesome act of putting that wealth to use. So I think it was quite interesting that he's giving that, because that's pretty much what he did as well in his work. He was very known for the charitable work that he did. Of course, if these spirits were giving the green light to talk to us, is because they had the moral um, how can I say, the moral
Have
ground, to actually give authority, moral authority to actually give that, because they lived it. They can talk about it because they lived it. They proved it in the flesh as well. Did you want to say something about this? Because quite a few beautiful, messages hidden in there, right?
Yeah, I think it's as we were talking before, as you were explaining before, we were going to talk about it in this chapter, and you said, "Oh, there's quite a few explanation from the spirits," and you're talking now about this one in specific. It's just a reminder that the work that Kardec compiled, he used the scientific method, so um, he had letters sent to different parts of the world. He had different questions made to different mediums, different spirits to try and get answers from everywhere he could, so he could compile those and actually put in the book only what he could collect that it was in common with those answers. So lots of those spirits appears several times on the course of the codification, and if the answer is there, it's because it appeared more than one time. He could actually confirm that it was the correct answer for the question. So that's why also sometimes we have a topic and then different spirits talking about the same thing, in and just explaining in different manners what we're talking about. And it's quite nice because they all have a very different, you can tell, a very different vocabulary, or use a different way to explain what the topic is that we are talking about. So it's quite interesting that if you don't understand straight away from one text, maybe the next one that they carry on talking is around the same topic, but talks in different ways from different points of view. So that's why we say Kardec was the is that the right word in English? Codificator? He decodified?
Codifier, codifier.
Codifier. Yeah. So he
Yeah.
codified the books. Not he
Or
didn't.
some people, I've heard some people say the compiler, because he compiled, he put it together. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's what
it
the
is
word I used in the beginning
a
sounded
funny word to
very.
translate to English. Yeah.
Yeah, I said compiled in the beginning. I think it sounds better too. So he compiled all the work, and he got has comments from him also on the book, but it's comments on information that came from other spirits. So he compiled all the work, and this is a compilation of lots of information coming from different places in the world and different plans, of course. So I think it's this part. He just talks obviously still on the same topic, going on about charity. The true charity is giving what you actually think you need, right, to someone else. Not what is superfluous for you, like what you don't need. Is actually giving what you think you need. And I think when he says that what you think you need is that so much in our lives, we think we need so much to survive, to live, to go through life. And when we pass through difficult times, we realize that we need very little to keep living. And it's not just surviving, to have a nice life. We need way less than what we think we do. And on the next couple points, we're gonna hear more about that, about needs and about this race for material things. Would you like
Yeah,
me
we
to
have
read
a
the
little
next
message
one?
from Alcione.
Oh, sorry, yes.
In the first place, seek to alleviate such an important message in the current situation of our planet. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite, because a lot of the times um, we seek to judge, we seek to criticize, we seek to, I'm paying attention to this because I'm preparing my lecture in a couple of weeks. I'm doing a lecture, and it's going to be about indulgence, and
Mm.
yeah, it's we are, just reminded that how much we are prone um, to criticize and to put people down and to instead of seeking to alleviate or to judge. So it's quite yeah, so that's why kind of that came back to my mind. So yes, now we go back to the reading of, now we are after Cheverus. The next one is by um Fenelon. So I'm just
Mm.
going to put it for us to read here. Could you please read for us, Carol?
Yes, yeah, sure. Um, Whenever I consider how short life is, I am grievously impressed by your incessant preoccupation with your material welfare. Whereas you attach so little importance and devote so little time to your moral improvement, which shall be counted to you for eternity. In seeing your industriousness, one might believe that it is connected with an issue of great interest for humankind, whereas in most cases it is nothing more than an attempt to satisfy exaggerated needs and vanity, or to give yourselves over to excesses. How much grief, worry, and torment you inflict upon yourselves. How many sleepless nights to increase wealth that is often more than sufficient already. At the height of such blindness, one often sees those to whom an immoderate love for wealth and the pleasures it provides subjected to pain-filled labor, priding themselves of a life full of sacrifice and merit, as if they were actually working for others and not for themselves. Fools! Do you then really believe that the worries and efforts motivated by selfishness, greed, or pride will be taken into account while you neglect the care for your future, as well as the duties that fraternal solidarity imposes on all those who enjoy the advantages of societal life? You have been thinking only of your own bodies, whose well being and pleasures have been the sole object of your selfish solicitude. For your body, which dies, you have neglected your spirit, which will live forever. That master, so cherished and cared for, has become your tyrant. It commands your spirit, which has become its slave. Is that the purpose of the existence that God has given you? A Protector Spirit, Krakow, 1861.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you said before, Kardec put together all these messages from different places. The previous one was from Bordeaux. This was from Krakow. The next one,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure about the next one, but the next, yeah, this one is about a protector spirit, which is anonymous, but the next one is by Fenelon. Yeah. So, Carol, you have the baton.
Yeah, so I think so that's what the cue that I gave on the last comment that I left kind of open. That so the protective spirit goes on about how he doesn't understand. Just looking at the amount of time that we have on this life, which is very little compared to a whole existence. Why do we spend so much time seeking for gold? He says so, searching for richness when we have so much more that we can gather and take it with us for our eternal life, that we can actually live here on leave earth, leave this incarnation with it, and we seek very little of that. So most men spend their whole lives searching for money, for richness, and when we disincarnate, we're not going to take any of that with us. And lots of us have the excuse of, oh, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for to provide, I'm doing this for many reasons. We always have an excuse to do what we want. And he goes saying like, oh, we make on that search, we make our spirits slaves of our bodies, slaves of our material wills, of our material desires. And we justify saying that it's for other people, but in the end, it's always going to be because of our pride, because of our what we want to achieve, materially speaking, and we sacrifice so much, especially our time. So when we say that we cannot do charity, we cannot help other people because we don't have time, what are we doing with our time? Are you working so much towards this richness that is unachievable because we always want more? I think we talk a lot about this. My family, we talk a lot about this, about how every time you get a raise, you get used to living with a little more money or a lot more money. It's really easy to do that, and then suddenly you can't live with less than that anymore, unless life comes and takes it all, and then you realize that you can live without any of that. So what is it
Yeah.
going to take for you to realize you can live with less? What is it going to take for you to realize, or for us to realize, that we can give more of our time? My mom always says also, and I'm sure she's gonna watch this later. She's been watching the day after or 2 days later and commenting on. So I'm sure she's gonna
I've
watch
seen
it.
her. I've seen her likes. Yeah, her comments. Yeah,
Yeah, she says that
she's checking up on you.
yeah, she says that she's learning English and that human speaking English, she understands everything because you have such a good pronoun. So she likes to hear you.
Well,
Um,
I'll keep that in mind when I speak.
Not me, you understand, you. So she says like, oh, we oh, and I forgot now what I was going to say. I started talking about that. I was talking about oh, I know. And that she says like, oh, if you want something done, you ask someone very busy, you don't ask someone with lots of free time, because a
Yes.
busy person is going to fit on their schedule and is going to get it done. So how many of us are really occupied, and you say like, how can this, we have a couple of people like that work with us in the spiritist group, isn't it? That they are really busy, they have a family, they work, they have all of this going on, and they always seem to find the time to help when we need them. Can someone cover for this study group? Can someone do this? And the person is always like, oh, I can do it, I can do it. So if you really want to, you'll find the time. And a productive person, truly productive, will be productive in a lot of areas, not just at their work, right? So if you have your heart in place and you can find the time to help people. And I think that matches quite well with what we were talking about before, that is helping people in the first instance, that they need food, they need clothes, it's quite easy to actually count that ache and so solve it for the moment for what the person needs. But if you truly want to help someone, maybe it's about teaching them a new skill so they can get a job. Is actually helping them find another job. Is actually helping them with your time so you can talk through a difficulty so the person can advance. So that's much more complicated and takes a lot of what we think we cannot give most of the time, and all of us have for sure if we make an effort, which it is time.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting how this protecting spirit tells us that he warns us. He says, whenever I consider how short life is, I am grievously, like I'm deeply impressed by insistent preoccupation with the material welfare. Um, and now, as spiritists, and we know, and we are convinced, that there is a future life. As not only spiritists, because we actually spiritual go a bit further. But as Christians, there is an afterlife, and that's the most important life. But of course spirit is bringing us this life that the maybe the issues that we might have here, they are a result of a past experience. So we should be preoccupied with material welfare as much, because we know, but there is a big difference between knowing and living it, right? So that's the thing. Like, that's why we are here every Wednesday. That's why we keep studying. That's why we keep talking. That's why we keep going to do the many activities offered by the spiritual group. That's why we keep in the conversation, because one thing is to know on the surface, and the other thing is to know enough to actually put into practice, and not to worry about your or put that much attachment or importance on the material side, and not devoting our time to our moral improvement, as this protective spirit is telling us here. So that's and it says, I'm grievously impressed. So he's severely, deeply impressed by the amount of time that we spend. And as we know, life is short. This life is very short. And as we get older, we start to realize that more and more, right? Because the time, keeps catching up with us. And as we get older, so it's that's the importance of looking for this moral improvement. Of course, we want to progress intellectually, and we want to progress, in our careers and in our work and what type of work we do and all that. That's very important. But the most important part is the moral improvement, and achieve great success by not hurting your neighbor, and keeping that, like you're saying before in the previous reading, that it's through charity, and through charity is to be benevolent and to be indulgent, and to forgiving. So using that, all that, to progress intellectually, but also most importantly using that to those opportunities to improve morally as well. um so I think we have time to read one more and go to number 13, lucky for some.
Yeah, good, because then we finish this topic. We start another topic next week, right?
Yeah, I think we won't. Yeah, we'll finish this. Yeah, the use of riches. Yeah, but then there'll be a few more items to finish the chapter altogether.
In
But
the
I think
same
we can
chapter,
finish
yeah.
this. Yeah. So I'll take on this one. Since humans, are we there? Are we there? Okay, I'll make it bigger for people that are watching us. Um, since humans are trustees and administrators of the wealth that God places in their hands, we're not only stewards now; we are trustees and administrators. So we can
And
get used to the
promoted.
idea, right? So we are the trustees and administrators of the wealth that God places in their hands. a strict accounting will be demanded of them regarding the use they have of it in the virtue of their free will. I mean, just if you think about it, because thinking on human terms, if you work in a company or any company, especially if you are on an accounting department, this message goes to you, Marcia. You have to, when you spend money, you have a budget, you have to make accounting, right? So your business go, okay, we have a business trip, we're gonna send, we're gonna send Carol, we're gonna send Alcione, and you guys can go there. You do this, whatever job you need to do. Bring back the receipt. You have to bring your receipts. You can't just spend all the money of the company, right? That's to put it into more relatable terms that we have in our in our planet, in our existence here. The same goes for that, for God. If everything that's given to us, we have to make an account for it. I just thought I would share this before it escapes my mind. Once, because as you know, we keep
Yeah.
reading, we sometimes forget about it, but this is true. If we, any CEO of any company, any secretary, any important businessman or businesswoman, they go on a trip, they need to bring back the receipts, and evaluate if they spent was actually for the good of the company or not. So we have to
Yeah, and I
think
was
like
gonna
that.
say that. Oh,
What was
sorry.
that?
That you can also go and you have a corporate credit card or whatever when you go travel or for your use, and you can also go and spend it if you want. Just go crazy and spend everything. But you know that in the end of the month, you're gonna have to sit down and explain what happened. So
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. So just before we keep reading, I thought I would share that. This came to my mind earlier today when I was reading it. A bad use consists in using it solely for their personal satisfaction. A good use, on the other hand, consists in all the times that it results in some good for someone else. The merit is in proportion to the sacrifice one imposes on oneself. Beneficence is only the one way of employing wealth. It relieves misery, appeases hunger, saves from the cold, and provides shelter to those who lack it. However, an equally pressing and meritorious obligation consists in preventing misery from occurring in the first place. It is there, principally, where the mission of the great fortunes lies, a mission to assist in all sorts of projects which such fortunes can help to execute. Were such projects to provide a legitimate profit, good would come of it nonetheless, because labor develops the mind and exalts the dignity of people who are always proud to be able to say that they have earned the bread they eat, whereas the receiving of alms humiliates and degrades them. Wealth concentrated in only one hand should be like a fount of living water that spreads fertility and well-being all around it. O you wealthy who employ your riches according to the designs of the Lord, your heart will be the first to quench its thirst at the beneficent fount. It is in this very lifetime you will enjoy the ineffable delights of the soul instead of the material delights of selfishness, which leave a void in the heart. Your name will be blessed on the earth, and when you departed, the sovereign Lord will say to you, as in the parable of the talents, O good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your master. In this parable, it's not the servant who buried in the ground the money that they had been entrusted to him, the image of the greedy, in whose hand wealth remains unproductive. If Jesus speaks primarily of alms, it is because at the time and in the land in which he was living, one did not know about the work that the arts and industry would create later, and in which wealth could be usefully employed for the overall good of society. To all those who can give little or much, I will say, give alms when necessary, but as much as possible, convert them into wages, so that those who receive them will not feel ashamed. Fenelon, Alger, 1860. Yeah, so different spirits, different place, but the message is pretty much the same, right? Yeah, it's quite interesting how he's saying that, like what we were initially talking on the first reading of the night about, giving alms, alleviate the, the desperation or the basic need and then maybe helping them lift themselves up. Not only give alms, but give, like like we say in English, don't give the man a fish, teach him how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite yeah, it's quite important to keep that in mind. And I think it's amazing the the imagery he uses. He is talking about as a sacred, spring or a fount, that will spread, abundance all around it. So it's kind of, it's a beautiful way of giving that to us. And see, instead of giving somebody just a glass of water, give them the water so they can, um, or giving somebody food, teach them how to provide for themselves. So it's quite, I think it's quite beautiful. See if I can find it here. It's only one of these. Oh yeah, wealth concentrated in only one hand should be like a fount of living water that spreads fertility and well-being all around it. So yeah, it's just not just giving alms or just giving people just so you can feel good about yourself, instead of giving them the conditions for them to grow. And then once those people grow, they will be able to pass that on to other people as well, and that will be like a cascading effect. There will be no limit for that action. That doesn't really belong to you. It just belongs to the growth, to the growth of those around you as well. Did you want to read any? Do you want me to?
Can maybe the second on the second slide. So right
Mhm.
after the 12 one, there was a sentence that I thought. I think. Oh, sorry, the second one. I think it was here. Mission just Oh, I don't know. I think I lost it. But anyways, this part um anyways I think this it's quite interesting how this part he talks about that you're saying, Mani, about how teaching people so in not just giving the almnet, but also getting them a salary, né? So getting them a salary so they can provide for themselves, provide for their family, actually live their lives and um, have some quality of life, some respect on what as a human being, etc. I think when I was reading that, it made me think of the difference of charities in different countries. I think because in Brazil we have so many people that are passing through a misery situation, especially at the moment. They need that first help that needs lots of not that in here doesn't have that need, because we also do lots of we also see lots of charity, we also participate in lots of charity that charities that are collecting food and passing on some basic items for to people, but I think in in here we see a much bigger number of charities or actual companies that are not that are NGOs that are fully functioning, that actually have their the idea of helping people getting not only getting a new profession, educated into something that they can turn into their livelihood, but there are also companies that help people launch their businesses or help people just stay at their job, which I thought now that I'm working with HR, that is something that I didn't know before, that it is quite a few companies that are free of charge. They go and help people that need help. For example, they started working somewhere and they don't have a certain skills to keep growing into the job. They help them get trained, and they help them maybe as soon as they start a new job. Sometimes the person doesn't have the means to get child care or to get the bus fare for the first week, and they help with this sort of thing. So different kinds of help, but this type of help after the basic help of finding a path with the person, it's even more important to make sure they actually have the means to carry on with their own legs. It's such a huge support, and it makes, I think, the person also feel so capable and way more I think you're just way more capable of carrying it on. It's it all help is valid, but this help is also a lot of effort for the person that is helping, and a lot of time and work into this type of help. And obviously
Yeah,
depends on
the
the
person will
means.
feel valued. They feel valued that they have actually done something, and yeah, it's because even by doing something, they can see that they are doing something for themselves, but also doing something for the other people as well. Which as we are growing together, I think it's quite important to keep in mind that as well. We have another message here by Alcione. Support and empower people around us so they can succeed. Yeah. And Alcione she's a master of that. So she's not only preaching, but she's actually doing as well. We
Yeah.
also have here Alcione is with us, participating a lot, but also on Instagram we have here Katia. Hi Katia, friend Emanuele as well, Felix Santos, and Almir Portugal, all joining us on Instagram as well. We're not able to
Yes.
put any comments from Instagram into our stream,
Maybe you
but
can see a
I've got
whole
my
face.
eye. I've got my eye. One eye, um olho no peixe, outro no gato, né, em português. One eye
Yeah.
in the fish, the other one in the cat. Um, so yeah, we have completed our reading of the gospel for this evening. Unless you want to say something else about the gospel, or we can
No, I
move
think we
on.
can pass on to. Yeah.
Okay. So on the yeah, so now we just finished our reading for Gospel According to Spiritism. Now we go, which on Instagram, IGTV will be the second part of the video because we can't put more than 1 hour. We already have been live for 52 minutes, so we won't be able to fit in just one video, but that's okay. Inevitably, some people drop because I can see the analytics. I can see that some people,
Yeah, it goes. The numbers are always floating. Yeah.
yeah, the numbers in the first video are always higher than in the second video, but that's okay. That's okay. Let me get the right screen here. Um, is it this one? No,
So
it's this one.
next week we're gonna keep reading into this chapter. So you guys also that are watching at home, remember that we have Mani has been posting what is gonna be the study for the following week. So if you wanna read before, or if you wanna get the Kardecpedia ready, if you can't read, for example, if you're watching on Instagram and you have the books at home, or if you have Kardecpedia on another device that you can read with us to make it easy, we always leave it there so you prepare for the next study. And you can always comment on Instagram. We can't read straight away, but on Facebook we can read.
Okay, so now we are into the Spirits book, and we are on book 2, which is talk about the spirit life or the spirit world. And
Spiritual life.
in this particular chapter, chapter 7, I believe, talks about the return to the corporeal life. So the processes of the spirit coming back into being reincarnated. We talk about the process of reincarnation itself. We talk about abortion. Um, we talked about last week. I think we talked about the no, the week before we talk about the qualities, the moral, intellectual qualities, and now we're
Okay.
going to mental impairment and insanity as well.
Last week we talked about how the organs and the spirit, if there's a
Yeah,
connection, if they interfere with each other.
yeah. If the intellect and the moral depend on the quality of the organs, which
Yeah.
it was quite interesting. The spirit said, "Do not confuse the cause with the effect." So yeah.
Yeah.
So now let's go back into mental impairment. Would you like to read the first question, please, Carol? Three
Yes.
seven
So
one.
this mental impairment and insanity. 371. Is there any basis for the opinion that mentally impaired individuals have a soul of a little evolved nature? No. They have a human soul who is frequently more intelligent than you might think, and who suffers immensely from the insufficiency of its means to communicate, as a mute suffers from the inability to speak. So it's obviously the questions are also organized in a way. It's not by chance that he didn't just throw them there. So this question follows up on what we just said. The last chapter was about. So we talked about like, oh, if what if Mani just said like, oh, don't confuse the cause with the effect. So they talk also a lot on the last couple questions before this one about how the body is just the instrument. So the brain is just the instrument that the spirit will use to portray the intelligence, portray that what the spirit had acquired on other lives and in this current life. So the same with in this case. So if a mentally impaired individual have a soul, a little evolved soul, or a less evolved soul, no, because the body is impaired, but the spirit isn't. So it talks about how the spirit can be quite frustrated because obviously you would like to speak and to do more because the spirit is not incapable, it's just limited by the limitations of the body.
372. What is the aim? Oh, hang on, I'll just make it a bit bigger if people can read if they are on the mobile phones. 372. What is the aim of providence in creating unfortunate beings like the mentally impaired? The spirits who dwell in such bodies are expiating past wrongs. They suffer from their constraints and from the impossibility of expressing themselves because of undeveloped or defective brains. This is then, is it inaccurate to say that organs do not exercise any influence on the faculties? We have never said that organs have no influence at all. Rather, they exercise a very great influence on the manifestation of the faculties, but they themselves do not produce the faculties. That is the difference. A good musician will not make good music with a bad instrument, but that does not mean that he or she is not a good musician. It's quite interesting. Once again, do not confuse
Mhm.
the cause, with the effect with the cause. Once again, that of course, if their brains are defective or underdeveloped, but that doesn't mean that their soul, or their faculties or that the soul has the possibilities, the capabilities that soul would have if it was incarnated on a on a perfect brain, a body with a perfect brain, would be able to express. But as the previous part of the question, they are just going through a readjustment of a necessary readjustment according to a previous experience that that instrument was badly used. So it's and this is amazing how the spirits are very I did not don't put words in my mouth. Like you say, we have never said that the organs have no influence at all, because he asked a question, the spirits reply, and then Kardec comes to assumption that then is it accurate to say that the organs do not exercise any influence on the faculties. No, we didn't say that don't have any influence. They do, but they do have a great influence. but the faculties are not produced by the organs. That's the difference. The faculties come from the spirit, but because the organs and then the body is underdeveloped or defective, then is not able to use that body to use that body to express whatever their intelligence or their moral abilities are. And then Kardec comes to further explain to us, because this was just a conversation between Kardec and the spirits, but now Kardec's instructions.
Comment.
It is necessary to distinguish between the normal state and the pathological state. In the normal state, mental ability may overcome material obstacles. However, there are cases where matter offers so much resistance that the manifestations are hindered or distorted, as in the case with mental impairment and insanity. These are pathological cases, and in such states the soul is not in possession of its full reasoning ability, which is why human laws exempt such persons from responsibility for their acts.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
So I'll just make a comment on this one before. So it's nice
Sure.
that the way that he differentiates. I think sometimes we tend to judge all mental illness or mental health coming from our spirit. So sometimes state of mind, or sometimes the way the person sees certain things, and so it's really important that we know the difference between certain types of impairments that are actually, like he says, pathological. That is something that an impairment from the body and not from the spirit. So several examples of mental impairments that we can use. But when I was reading that, I thought about depression and how many people think it's a matter of like, oh, we do a spiritual treatment, you drink we put some water on our
Think positive thoughts.
yeah, exactly. We'll just have some magnetized water, and we'll pray for you, and you'll be fine. You just have to try and think positive and be happier, you know. And it's an actual chemical imbalance, is an actual disease, and the only thing that will cure is also physical treatment. Obviously, we know that spiritual treatment exists, and thinking positive has lots of benefits, but we cannot treat a physical a material disease with just positive thoughts. So we have to learn and understand that. And I think it's quite nice that he makes the differentiation and talks about insanity. And we don't use that word anymore in psychology, but it's so any type of impairment or mental disease, mental illness, needs to be treated as such. And in the end, the comment is quite good that says like, oh, and that's why society or judging will also relieve people from their responsibilities in case they do something that it was not quite correct. Is because it's not that the person doesn't know, but the body won't allow them the control of their faculties. Katya saying
You
hello.
have a little message from Katya saying hello. Yeah. Hello, Katya.
Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been. I mean, this of course, this book is being written over 160 years ago, so a lot of more knowledge has come since then. You know, for us to understand, but we still, we still have that issue that science does not accept that the mind and the intelligence is something that goes beyond matter, because that's what science. I mean, it is changing. It is changing slightly because we have more and more, spiritualists, scientists, and doctors, that are studying and trying to find the way to prove that as well. So, okay, 373.
What could possibly be the merit in the existence of beings who, like the mental impaired, can do neither good nor evil, and therefore cannot progress. It is an expiation imposed for their having abused certain faculties in a former life. It is a temporary pause. So the body of a mentally impaired person may confine a spirit who perhaps animated the body of a genius in a preceding existence? Yes, genius sometimes becomes a curse when it is abused. And then again, Kardec is going to comment on the questions. Moral superiority does not always imply intellectual superiority, and the greatest geniuses may have much to expiate. Consequently, they often live a present existence that is inferior when compared to those they have already lived, a cause of great suffering. The impediments that these spirits experience when they try to express themselves are for them like chains that fetter the movements of an active person. One could say that the mentally impaired are disabled in the brain as others are disabled in their limbs or eyes. Um, so he's just asking if the spirits that are um, that are born in such bodies are fully conscious, understand everything that's going on, and why, how would that help, that incarnation help the spirits to evolve if they can't do anything. And then Kardec goes explaining that lots of spirits that go through that um, have to experience that incarnation as have to sorry, I lost my words. They have to go through the incarnation experiencing a lot of patience, a lot of mental control, and especially for a very intelligent spirit must be extremely hard to be able to listen, to see things, and not be able to react or to do whatever you would like to do. And it goes talking about how in past lives could have been that those spirits were really intelligent, and they say yes, that a lot of very intelligent spirits, that in material intelligence doesn't necessarily mean the spirit is also evolved in their moral side. So they might use their intelligence for not so good things, and they might need to incarnate in a position later on that they are not so able to use their material intelligence into something that it will stop them from evolving. So in lots of cases, limiting the spirit with an impaired body it's a way of making sure they will evolve morally, because they cannot use all of their intelligence to go around conquering things and doing majestic things to be part of history. You just have to literally control your mind and learn how to live with yourself. So it's a real big challenge that especially for someone that has a very powerful mind, overcoming must be really, really complicated. But we know that sometimes it takes us pain to make us evolve. We all have chance to do it through love, and most of the time we waste it. We just need pain to make it, to push us forward and make us overcome certain obstacles.
And that's the beauty of one of the objectives of spiritism. There are many, of course, but I think this kind of gives us a very important lesson and opportunity, as spiritism came to instruct and to give comfort. Yeah, because it is, where we're reading and we're talking about this, and if we don't have the explanation by the superior spirits that there is a reason why these things happen, of course, because it brings a lot of concern for us, and a lot of, feel sorry for the people that are in this condition, as we should, because it is a suffering brother or a suffering sister. But if we don't have that understanding, you might even, start to consider the justice in life, the justice of God. Why does somebody come, with a mental, impairment, or underdeveloped, or, and what is the justice in that? But as we understand, with the tenets that Spiritism gives us, we are able to understand better and to accept it more. There was a time where just faith was enough. Oh no, yeah, it happens because God wants. Because, but why? There must be a reason why, and the reason, explained through reincarnation and through the law of cause and effect. That's the reason why. And then what used to be, like you mentioned, used to be like an impediment or a restraint, it becomes an opportunity. It becomes like a like a stop, like a block, that you're not able to no longer do harm to yourself or to others, because you are in that condition for now, because it's temporary. Just like we were reading on the previous message, this life is so short, and sometimes the struggles that we go through or that we see around us, they seem like eternal or like too long. But in reality, if we consider ourselves as infinite infinite beings that we are, we start to see as a clearer and a more just picture. So that's why I think it's important to keep that in mind, in our lives, with when we see a lot of tragedies, a lot of, a lot of suffering, a lot of loss, as have been seeing lately. And like I mentioned before, it's always been there. People have been dying for since humans being alive. We have seen a lot of people die. Like we were just talking about one of them, like the first spirit that had that. Trying to remember his name. John Chever, Chever.
Uh,
I forgot
Chavon,
his name. Yeah.
something like that.
He was helping people. He was helping people in the during the yellow fever. Which was another
Another
plague
pandemic.
that another pandemic that happened. So it goes in cycles, and we sometimes we forget.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and we are still, still in this moment, trying to to see that all these pain that go around, and all this suffering that goes around, and sometimes if we don't take a step back from the material life that we are so attached to, as proven by the first reading, we get confused, we get uh, anxious about our life, our future life, we get depressed, but it's we get down, I should say, not depressed, because depressed, as you
Yeah,
pointed before, is more than that. If you feel down,
yeah.
but yeah, we have a it's quite a lengthy comment, but I think we'll be able to fit in the screen. Yes. Even in the gym, we say what pains you trains you, or no pain, no gain. We follow angelic guidance, and we are more often than not led into the rugged hills or more of choosing. So choice after choice after choice, decision after decision after decision, we can choose to walk even in those rugged hills, path of truth, beauty, and goodness. That is love. Thank you, Hierophantic Human. We miss you, man. We haven't seen you in a long time, but you always come with a little bit of jewels of knowledge and inspiration to
Yeah,
us. Thank you. Yeah, once again, bring it back to the normal life. Like we say in the gym, no pain, no gain. So
yeah.
sometimes it's
Gotta
harder
work
to
for it.
work. Sometimes it's harder to train out with our vices, with our bad inclinations, than actually weights in the gym, because that is physical. But that the pain sometimes is in our heart, and is not in our not in our muscles. But yeah, beautiful message. Thank you so much. I think we're gonna
Yeah,
leave it to here, right? We are getting to 8:15 already, an hour and 15 minutes. So we just I'll make a note that we are stopping in question 374. for next week. Yeah, 374. We can continue from there. So now we go to our final stage. I hope you guys all have your glass of water handy. We are doing our final irradiation. Do you want to say something else, Carol?
No,
No?
I'm
Okay.
ready. I have my water. I'm ready.
Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna go. I deleted that picture that I had before. That was a nice one, right? For
It was
our
nice. But
visual.
the one that you put usually for the cards is nice too.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the same one because I'm just finding here. Okay. So with all of those beautiful messages that we had, we then start to prepare ourselves for our next stage of our meeting, where we connect, even though we are apart, distant physically, but we're very much together in the name of God and Jesus, and surrounded by our superior spirits, our spiritual guides, spiritual friends, our guardian angels, whatever name you call yours. And we are, imagine us being all together, holding hands in this moment that is so short, but is so precious to all of us. And we, once again, in the name of God, our Creator, and Jesus, our bigger brother, our role model, and the superior spirits, we give ourselves on the exercise of charity, where we put our thoughts, our hearts, our imagination, and also our fluids, our vibrations, to help those who are in need in a world where there's much suffering in many degrees, in many levels. We pray. We pray for peace on earth that starts in every single one of us. Let us find the inner peace that can be multiplied and reflected in those around us, as in a cascading effect, vibrating and reverberating throughout our whole universe and this planet. Our blue orb, as we have our brothers and sisters in mankind still going through the effects of this pandemic, as we are learning how to be distant, socially distant, but we can do so much more like we are right now. We pray for those who have passed away due to COVID, but also due to other diseases that were not able to be treated because of COVID, patients in the hospitals, many of our brothers and sisters who are feeling stressed, down, anxious in this moment, feeling lost, without a cause, without a perspective of a life. Let us drop a seed of this feeling, of the possibility through a book or through a movie, maybe a song, bringing them a new perspective, a new insight to keep going, keep growing with their families, with their friends. We also pray for those who are in countries torn by war and hunger, and there are many that we know, and there are so much more that we don't not even aware of. We take a moment to pray for our relatives and families around the world. They could be very close to us or a different country, a different continent. There is no barriers for this vibration circle that we are creating right now because we believe and we are sure that the superior spirits are taking care of this at this very moment. Let us take a moment now to think about the people in our houses, in our homes, to our families, our partners, our flatmates, whoever you share a roof with. Let the blessings of Jesus enter your home, protecting and blessing all those who are there in this moment. We now take a moment to thank the superior spirits of being here, applying the fluids in the water that we're about to drink, also energizing us all in our vital centers. We have been blessed by the teachings that we've just discussed, and you have been blessed by your presence. And now, as you go to our last stage of this meeting, we praise God for everything that is given to us in a daily basis that we don't think about, that we take for granted. We tend to ask for many things. Very rarely we thank. We thank for the things that are given to us, but we tend to thank the good things. We forget to also thank for the bad things that didn't happen. And sometimes we forget to thank for the bad things that did happen. Because we are not the ones to judge whether they are bad or good for us. Only God will know what the future holds and the many lessons that we can learn from them, from the so called bad happenings, bad occurrences in our lives. That's why we, as well as we praise you, we ask for the courage to go through those moments. We ask for discernment to decide what path to take, to have the courage to take a moment to breathe in and to act instead of react, to take a moment and think, will my actions hurt somebody? Will my actions bring somebody pain? What would I like that were done to me that I can do to others? We thank you, God, for bringing us together once again. Even though we are physically apart, we are together in your name, virtually, in many places around the world. And this in itself is already a blessing. And we ask that we are able to keep this peaceful moment and peaceful feeling that we carry with us in our hearts this moment until we meet again for another Allan Kardec Spirits Group of New Zealand meeting in the same place, the same time. And we ask permission to end another Allan Kardec Spiritual Group of New Zealand meeting. Thank you so much. So be it.
So be it.
All right,
Thank you,
guys. Thank you
Osione,
so
for
much.
participating. She's saying thank you for
Yeah,
participating. You guys for watching.
yeah. We had a few participations today on the Facebook. We are also on Instagram. So thank you so much, everybody, for that tune in. And I will put this on Instagram on IGTV so people can watch it later in a better format as well. Especially people that are in Brazil and other parts of the world, they can see it not only live but can see it later on as well. Once
Yeah.
again, Carol, thank you very much for reading, for all your very inspired thoughts, and have fun next week. Next week I won't be here, but I'm sure you'll have fun with
Yeah.
Alcione.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Manny, for controlling all the technology
That's
there.
okay.
We'll see how we go next week without you.
One eye on the fish, one in the cat. I have sometimes I'm
Yeah.
cross-eyed like that because I'm looking at too many places at the same time.
We'll see how
All
I
right,
do
guys.
next week. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good
Ciao,
night.
ciao. Bye, bye.